Okay, looks like we are recording. My sound is good, video is good on your end. Okay, you look good too. All right, let me pull it up and let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to our show. Today our guest is Taylor Peugh. He is a cash flow investor in the Charlotte market. He focuses on solving problems for distressed property owners, often using creative financing techniques. He uses these techniques to buy single family, multifamily, and businesses in the area. Without further ado, Taylor, thank you for coming on our show today. We appreciate your time, appreciate you coming on the show. I wanted to ask you real quick, it wasn't my first question, but I'm sure a lot of people watching this will want to know, what is a cash flow investor? What's the definition?
Yeah, great question. And thanks again for having me on the show. Really excited to join you. And as always, get some education, inspire some people to become financially free.
Mm-hmm.
To the question of what is a cash flow investor? What that means to me is that price is actually irrelevant on what I buy. For example, I would buy a 2-bedroom house in any market for $1 million if I could make payments that would cover it. So in my example, say that it would rent for $1,600. If I could then pay the owner $700 a month and it would be positive cash flow, the actual purchase price is irrelevant because now it's just free money to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we would buy, and we have, multifamily units. We bought businesses that were cash flow positive, where even if we were required to make a down payment, as occasionally you are, the payments of the business, in this specific case, what I'm talking about, the payments from the business actually paid the private investor for the down payment and the owner for their payment. So we made money on top of all of that. And so we just bought cash flow. A lot of people do this and they don't understand that they're not buying a house, right? When you buy a rental, you're buying a cash flow stream disguised as a house. And so that's how we describe what we do. I'd buy a $1 million single family home if the cash flow was right, or I'd buy a hot dog stand on the corner with grilled onions if the cash flow was right.
Okay. How many years did it take you to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I've been an active investor since 2013, so 7 years. And really enjoy what we do. We're going to always continue to grow, our business and kind of what we're working on. But I've been full-time real estate for 7 years.
Okay, nice. Can you tell us about any adversity or challenge you faced in your life, and how did you deal with it? How did you overcome it?
Yeah, can I just tell you about how I got into real estate? That'll kind of synopsisize a good way.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
So a lot of people listening, they're going to say, Taylor, but you had all these advantages. So let's step back to 7 years ago. I had just moved to Charlotte as I was in the middle of getting divorced. So I don't know if we say fired or laid off. I went to work. He said that I didn't need to come back and I kind of didn't want to be there. So we kind of just split, right? We'll say that I chose to leave there because I wasn't really excited about it and he didn't really want me there. I got and he agreed to pay me for 2 weeks. So I got some severance. I had a job the next day. That job was at a place that refilled printer ink cartridges, which I'm a techie guy. So that was kind of like, oh, cool. So I worked there for a month or two. On Friday, they pulled in my whole shift and said, hey, by the way, you guys are all let go. And so I went home and cried about it over the weekend. And Monday or Tuesday, they called me back and said, Taylor, we got a job for you. I'm like, oh, cool. I come back to work and I'm the only person from that shift that got called back. So now I'm working on a different shift.
Okay.
Well, it turns out that the second shift I'm working on gets laid off the following Friday. So I got laid off by the same company twice in 2 weeks. At that time, my car was in the process of being repossessed and I was actively hiding it. My cell phone was cut off. I actually keep on my desk. This was all the money in the world to me. It's $1.87 for anyone listening.
Wow.
and I just had to make it work. I didn't have a choice. I had been going to real estate meetings, kind of like, hey, how do I get started?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say my mentor, I called her and I said, hey, I don't care what I have to do. I need to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
She said she could pay me like $15 an hour, which didn't even really cover my gas and my food, but I was able to hang out with a millionaire real estate investor. And in the process of taking paint to and from rehabs and checking on contractors and all these things that like your runner would do for you,
Right.
I got to ask a millionaire questions. And so that led into finding my first wholesale deal, which led into finding my first fix and flip that I was going to wholesale, but ended up staying in the deal as opposed to taking the fee.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed in the deal with equity. That led into owning a portfolio of like 26 houses, all out in a suburb of Charlotte. Sold out of that, bought a multifamily. And so it just keeps escalating. And all I'll say is for anyone listening, there's nothing to stop you but you. And what really made the difference, minus all that adversity, was a shift in mindset.
Nice. I like that. That's especially the jar as a reminder that you keep there. That's
It
cool.
literally sits on my desk and doesn't leave. my I say the boss, my wife, is instructed to never, ever, ever, like for any reason, this change can't go. It's like Uncle Scrooge's lucky penny. I have my jar of coins.
Nice. And for those who are not old enough to know Uncle Scrooge, that's from DuckTales, right?
Well, so yeah, they have it on Disney Plus. So if you have
Okay.
kids, it's on Disney Plus. You can go
Okay.
watch it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember watching that as a kid. So yeah, good stuff. Well, you answered that question. That was a nice segue. My next question is, if you could start over again, would you do anything differently, and if so, why?
Yeah, if I was to start over again, and this goes for anyone, this comes back to the cash flow business aspect, right? If I was to start over again today and I didn't have any resources, I'd go knock on my neighbor's door and I would tell them, hey, I'm going to start a landscaping service.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to borrow your lawnmower. I'm going to pay you half of the money I make. And I would go knock every house I could walk to. I would walk my lawnmower to their house, stand in the front yard and say, I'm cutting grass today. We're doing it free today. Let me cut your grass. And then negotiate to cut it next week again for a fee.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got free. On top of that, people are going to tip you. It's just going to happen. You're going to make money today. You'll end up with, we'll call it $100
Mm-hmm.
today. And then you also got a client base that's going to start growing. So I'd start a landscaping service today, door to door.
Mm-hmm.
Borrowed from my neighbor's equipment until I had enough cash to go buy my own equipment and return his to him.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do that today. Anyone in any market.
Right. With zero money down.
No money.
Yeah. Nice. So especially the youngsters out there, there you go. There's a potentially $1 million business idea.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I listened to Eric Thomas. So I talked about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Thomas has a video. It's called As Bad as You Want to Breathe. That was one of the, like, I would say brainwash, because that's all I would listen to for weeks on end.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked at that job where I was at a printer refill place, I'd play it at my desk. It's an 8-minute clip. And in coming and going from my desk all day, I'd catch different portions of it. I literally brainwashed myself with that. There's another clip of, I think it's Montel Williams, and he's talking about, you just got to jump. And he talks about one of his partners that has like a $4 million landscaping company. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Nice. So I guess you kind of touched on this, but I was going to ask, what advice would you give to our viewers, just in general, about anything, whether it's business or life or, what have you? Especially in these times.
Sorry, it's getting a little warm in here. So anyone listening right now, if you're listening to this, you obviously have the want to change, right? If you're not listening to this, I'm not talking to you anyways. Anyone listening to this could be watching Netflix, could be, Game of Thrones, and I love Game of Thrones, so I'm not knocking it, but there's other entertainment avenues that you could be approaching. So if you're listening to this, you've already made the commitment to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'll tell you is your friends and family that know you're going to try and protect you, because they know you from when you were, 7 years old.
Right.
And what you need to do is understand that they're not voting against you. They just don't understand your mindset because they're not on our level yet. They haven't gotten there. So find people to be around who inspire you, who are on the journey you're on, and only take advice from people you're willing to switch places with in that avenue, right? Only take business advice from someone whose businesses you would want to own.
Right.
Only take money advice from people whose bank accounts you would want to have.
Good point.
Yeah. Asking your broke cousin for advice on, what rental you should buy, probably
Not the best idea. Well, I always say that you don't go to a dentist to fix your car, and you don't go to a heart surgeon to give you, stock advice. So, you got to find the expert in whatever it is that you're trying to do, or become one yourself.
And Warren Buffett or one of the other huge stock traders. I'm not a stock guy. I own zero stock. But one of them is like, when the shoe sign boy is giving you money advice, it's time to sell or something like that. There's some famous quote out there.
Yeah. My last question for you, Taylor, is, having spoken to you before, I know you're an avid reader. So I'd ask you, what 2 books would you recommend for personal development? But you had mentioned that you got more than that. So what books would you recommend for personal development?
I actually have a kind of a starter list for anyone looking to get, I'm a real estate guy. And so anyone looking to get involved entrepreneurial should read these books. Number 5 is the first real estate book. But number 1 book, the book that would do the most for the most amount of people on the planet is The Richest Man in Babylon.
Good one.
By far my favorite book. If the average American would just implement these steps from that book by itself, it would do the most good. Like you don't even have to read anything else. It's fun because it's told in parable format, which is like how the Bible's told,
right?
Kind of little stories to show ideas. The second one is The Alchemist. And I actually call that like part 2 of The Richest Man in Babylon. I don't want to give anything away on it. What I'll tell you is, as you're reading it, you're going to be like, Taylor, why am I reading this book? When you get to the end of the book, you'll understand. That's all I can tell you. The following that is The One Thing, which is, I ask myself a modified version of that question every day, which for me is, what can I do today to increase my cash or my cash flow? That's the only question you should ask.
The book's name is The One Thing?
The One Thing, yep. Number 4 is The 10X Rule, Grant Cardone, that's a famous one.
Yeah.
And then the first real estate book on my list is The Cash Flow Diaries. It's by Jay Massey. He's out of Florida. He wholesaled his first house. Well, both him and his wife were in the hospital a month after their house was foreclosed on. So tell me why you can't do it. Like,
right.
I've wholesaled houses. Well, I was being chased, and fun side story, I won't tell on this one, but I had my car repossessed from my first rehab. Okay. Like, anyone can do this. I don't care if your car's been repossessed, you've been divorced, you've been fired, you've been, you've had $3 in your account. Guys, I've had all of that, and there's still success.
Nice. All right. And Taylor, where can people find you, or, stuff that you're doing, what you're up to? How can they connect with you?
Yeah. One of the easiest ways is I'm on Facebook. I'm in lots of groups, but Taylor Peugh. You can also call me direct. I'm brave. I give out my cell phone number, 704-728-7880. I'd love you to check out our podcast, which is The Kings in Queen City.
We'll include that in the description.
Cool, man. I'd love it.
Yeah.
If you're in the Charlotte area or Charlotte market, when we're not doing what we're doing now, we have monthly meetups, and it's just a networking event. You're not sold anything. You're not pitched anything. We meet up at a bar and we grab drinks and talk real estate. There's a lot of great networking opportunities, and I'm not knocking the educational part and the RIAs and all that. I participate in lots of those, but I think that there's very few just networking opportunities. So in our market, we provide that space.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you again, Taylor, for your time. It was a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for dropping some knowledge bombs on us and our viewers. We'll have you on again sometime soon, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into the cash flow aspect of it and some of the strategies that you employ.
I love it. Hey, for anyone listening, thank you for your time, and just remember, the only person stopping you is you.
Thank you, Taylor. Take care.